Frio, and joining me today will be Flat Top Dylan Floyd coming through. We've got ourselves a matchup between the University of Louisiana Lafayette, there's a lot of L's in there, and Butler University, straight out of the northern part of Indianapolis. 2-0 are the Raging Cajuns of Louisiana, and then for the Bulldogs, they're sitting at 2-1 in the Midwest Division, and we're going to be seeing a lot of the same map styles here as we go through, Dalton, as we've got Arsenal and Frequency geared up for us in this best of 5.
Yeah, we're going to start with Arsenal at the beginning and finish with Arsenal and have 3 frequencies in the middle. So it's going to be a really familiar night. We have the same maps for the next series, so we better get used to Arsenal and Frequency tonight.
A little bit of a Frequency Oreo kind of coming at us in this first one. And we got to just talk about these teams just briefly as we kind of set things up as the teams are getting their lobbies set and ready to go for you guys. Butler's one loss did come in week number 1, a 2-3 loss to the University of Tennessee at Knoxville, which they are currently a 2-1 team as well. And then both of their wins beyond that coming against teams that have not won a map yet. So a very interesting depiction as you take a look at Butler as far as what they've had as far as a test so far. You really can't say they've had much of one besides that 5-game set versus University of Tennessee in their first game there, Dalton.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing is that I believe it was the University of Louisiana had not played an Arsenal at all yet. So it's going to be a bit of a new thing to get used to, work out some strategies, and just work on some new strats that they've maybe practiced in scrims in the past. So it'll be really interesting to see how this first map plays out, and it has the potential to be a really close series.
Yeah, a little bit of an unfamiliar territory for ULL, and again, kind of looking back at what they've had to go through so far. Their first 2 games in week number 1 were relatively easy games as they played up against Eastern New Mexico University. That was 3-0 pretty easily. Then they had a forfeit win versus Finger Lakes Community College. So again, not really any tests so far for ULL. Yes, they're sitting at 2-0 in the Northeastern Division, looking at that tie for quote-unquote first place at the moment. But again, it is still early on. And this is really pretty much the biggest test for at least ULL, if not kind of similarly so for Butler as we go through. And I think you hit it nicely, the fact that we're looking at an Arsenal map that has not been touched yet for the Raging Cages. But for Butler, they sit at an undefeated stat line when it comes to Arsenal. So you have to think that it would be a good place to start for you if you're the Bulldogs.
Yeah, it's gonna be definitely a good series. It's gonna be good for Butler, especially being that they've had some games on Arsenal and are really familiar with the map. There's a lot of things that are gonna go down in this. It's just gonna be interesting. I'm really excited for this first map, first series casting.
Indeed, and it will be hardpoint first. So again, on a map like Arsenal, things are very polarized as far as where these hard points are. The spawns are not necessarily the most favorable as you would look at compared to like a map like Seaside, for instance. But as we dig in, we will be seeing actually a lobby restart. So as typical fashion, I think I'm going to personally say I'm pretty sure I'm undefeated when it comes to starting a lobby and then having to immediately restart it. And maybe it's just a little bit of a shift curse coming at us.
I've seen those a lot recently for you. And I guess at this point you got to get used to it. But
you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
What can you do about it?
You just have to sit here and just, grace the people with our beautiful faces, I think is the only way we can go about it, Dalton.
Of course.
I need you to be a little bit more convincing about it. Of course we are. But you take a look at 100%. Arsenal. You take a look at Arsenal, and the biggest thing for me is, again, just being able to win those rotation fights, because those hard points are on extreme opposite ends of the map, with the exception of the first one and the second one, which is it's just a quick jump through a window. But besides that, you look at the hard points as far as where the spawns are, they're very easy to shake off. The people that do lock down as the AR anchor player have a lot riding on them being able to properly be able to hold down that role.
Yeah, that anchor role has always been important ever since Black Ops 2. It's always important to hold those spawns, and early on the rotations, it's just hard points. It's going to be a game all about winning your important gunfights, and not that especially, but also just playing together. Half the time in Black Ops 4, one-on-one gunfights aren't always your best friends. So, maybe a 2-on-1 on rotations might help, or, things like that. It's just certain things that you can take advantage of in this game that you can't do in others.
Yeah, and speaking of winning those gunfights, I want to just point out one player specifically for Butler, because, again, we don't have stats for anything on Arsenal because Lafayette, Louisiana have not played on Arsenal yet. But for Hensley from Butler is sitting at a 3.75 KD on Arsenal. You have to think that he's feeling pretty good about that moving into this
definitely.
Yeah,
it's great to have those numbers for your team. Yeah, the slaying power is going to be huge. Hardpoint's going to be really entertaining and fast paced to watch here.
Indeed, and we're just about ready to get their lobby restarted up, so we'll be back with this in just a second as we, again, are really jumping into Hardpoint Arsenal to start. Typical CWL rule set in play, of course. And as we dig in, we'll take a look to see how this one opens up. It will be Butler sitting in the red, I actually believe, so maybe the team's colors flip, but the scoreboard is still proper, so as you take a look at it from up top.
Yeah, so right here we have Hensley right here, and we have just the kill feed filled up with red. We have Johnny Ice with a 2-piece. Hensley picking up a good kill in the window. And yeah, it seems like
the biggest thing for me as we take a look at what Butler is doing is they're putting themselves in good spots to not only win up this early fight over the middle, but they have a lot of good cross support. As you already see, Vortex from the back end is watching this window, but also is able to trade right away and find people in the vent. So now he'll be the one coming in to contest. 17 seconds of solid time for Butler. Cajun only finding themselves 4, but a couple of trades for JX Money, maybe possibly trying to put that a little bit higher, but the support for Butler is back, and now it comes down with 12 seconds left. Who wins these rotation gunfights?
Oh, what a kill by Hensley as he picks up 3, 1 on the window, and then 2 more in the hill as they get on this rotation very shortly here. Very good first hill for Butler, and hopefully they can continue that in the next few hills.
But for the Raging Cajuns, they have themselves set up. Vortex is trying to play around the backside just to swing around these spawns, and looks like he's not quite able to do it super successfully, as the Raging Cajuns will hold on to the second hard point, and they're starting getting closer to that 30 number, and things looking good for Ash on point. He's on himself 2 straight kills, and he's not really playing what is typically traditionally labeled as the anchor spot of this map, but he's watching the rotations nightly and still hoping out on point, but the Sog of Riga too strong as he's able to come back in and swing this in favor of Butler.
Yeah, and we have a retake by Butler here. Yeah, like you said, he's not really playing the occasional or the traditional anchor role, and it might work out for them, actually.
It was actually Slash and Knives using the ICR, and he's the last player left on point. Riga will come in to support and trade away his life. Lego Maego doing what he could to try to pull things in favor of the Raging Cajuns, but now we'll swing back to the statue hard point, our third point of the rotation, and Vortex up close and personal to find one. How about a second? There's a third one close, not able to quite find it. The Sog too good for Ban.
Yeah, those are some huge kills there, and that takes the lead to 62-35. Butler's still in the lead here, as we're on board with Lego Maego, it looks like.
He's got himself a good spot to push through with concussion. He's got some support with him. They find one, not the second. Actually, the ICR for Slash and Knives, too good. Riga there to help out, and now they want to try to retake. The concussion comes through just to gain some space, and Vortex from the middle lobby will find himself another double kill. He's found those a couple different times today, sitting at 8 and 6 overall, getting himself some objective time now as well.
Lego Maego with a huge 2-piece as well, and just 2-piece after 2-piece. Vortex gets 3 actually. Wow. To retake the hill and get these last 10 seconds.
And now we're getting closer to that 100 mark, the first big milestone in our 250 goal for the hard point. Slashin will be rotating over towards these gun battery placements, and the ICR will be good enough for 1, but not a second. Riga trying to help contest, but not able to get there as Johnny Ice was not quite up where he needed to be to trade out his life, and that will actually be a full wipe coming in favor of Cajun Esports. University of Louisiana Lafayette looking to get themselves set up pretty considerably on this last hard point of our first rotation.
Yeah, and they have a really good setup here. We have one guy who gets ripped off the heady by Fios, and wow, really good hill right here by Cajun, and yeah, so they have a really good setup. We have one guy in the middle and then one person watching each flank, and that proves to be really good for them as Lego Maego picks up a really good kill. It was like a 3-on-1 gunfight there.
And it was a little interesting. You saw Bandit with the SOG was actually holding that barrel L-turn for some of the time, and you don't normally see a SOG holding that angle simply because of the longer line of sight that it provides, but it still ended up paying out for Cajun Esports. Nearly a full hill here, actually, as they're actually going to hit the 100 mark first before Butler, which is kind of a surprise considering how the first 3 hills were going. Yeah,
taking the lead as they have been down for the majority of the game, and it's nearly a 10-point lead here. Crazy.
We rotate into that last hard point now, and again, the first ones there are Cajun Esports. They utilized the TAC 5 to get there. All of that health has been eliminated. Those Vortex comes in with 2 more again. Goodness gracious. He's absolutely doing the work for his team. Him and Hensley alike are at 15 and 12 and 15 and 10. the only players actually going positive. Actually, I apologize. Slash and Knives is at 8 and 6 himself, but you got to think that somebody else, some of these saw gun player from Butler needs to really step itself up if they want to have a chance at winning these up close and quarters gunfights.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, a lot of those close and crucial gunfights are going to be huge, especially inside the hill and on this hill especially. Without those players on the inside, that's just not going to work, as Zots picks up a 2-piece. And
yeah, well, a lot of demand there for Zots. He was the last player left alive for Cajun to hold on to the point, and he will win the double gunfight. Now it just comes down to who can rotate into the middle. Tac 5 popped for Butler. Nothing else really to be used for the Butler unless they want to pull out the War Machine. It is ready to go for Hensley as he picks up those last kills. He's about to get traded away, but fortunately able to escape away from that vent, and Vortex is just holding down this cafe double door side. And if you look at it from Cajun Esports perspective, they do have Ruin available to use that grab slime. It might be what they need to break in. This is going to be a really tough hill to break, though, if they don't use a specialist flat top.
Yeah, and as we saw in the first hill, Hensley is very familiar with this spot that he's utilizing here as he picks up a double kill with the cluster grenade. He was using the same exact spot on the first hill, watching vents and the window. So it's proving to be really good for him as they almost mount the comeback, but just not enough.
Bandit would pop the War Machine as he came out of the vents and just essentially spammed it and found himself 2 kills because of it. And now with the rotations possibly coming out with just 8 seconds left, again, it's Cajun Esports on the point, and they're actually holding down some nice sight lines to try to get back into this point. They're not pushing out too aggressively, which I like. You can see Lego Maego is just holding this window passively to see if anyone's going to contest them, while Ash and the rest of the team tries to flank around the left-hand side prospectively through this robotics area. And now these gunfights are closer as Slash and Knives is here with the ICR. He's not able to find both, though. Oh, maybe now he's able to turn around for one. I was going to say he looked like he was heading towards the hard point, but he flips back around, gets himself that second kill, and locks down the spawns for the side of Butler Esports.
Yeah, and this lead just keeps on rising. They stopped Cajun Esports at 149, and most of the gunfights here were all taking place in this back part of the map, and those proved to be crucial because, you know, you either win those or you don't get the hill. So
we'll see how this looked like he wanted to go for a slide, but he came up just crouching, and that would swing the spawns in favor. And with just a little bit of scrap time here, Cajun Esports will come close to where Butler is with 10 seconds left. So we're looking at a pretty even game, and this is a clutch rotation here as Money is trying to make his way in, but Lego Maego unfortunately takes him down. So it comes down to who else can assist in this rotation. It's odd numbers favoring Butler, and with that one more kill happening onto Bandit out of the vent, it looks like Butler's gonna be able to be the first ones to set up foot on the statue hardpoint. And
that was a huge kill out of number 10, Slashin, as he picks up the kill, playing that anchor role as we were talking about before with the ICR. These are going to be huge kills. Spots Bandit and gets ripped by Bandit with the SOG.
And for me, it just comes down to we haven't seen anything from Butler be utilized specialist-wise, with the exception of the TAC 5. And at some point, you have to think, okay, but when are you going to use it? As it looks like Vortex actually has used the Vision Pulse, and now with that combination, the War Machine be used, and that's 3 kills coming out. The Tempest in response from Ash is able to at least trap down 1, but he gets taken down midway through his charge. So now Vortex for the retake. 15 seconds left. Will find himself his second kill, and the scrap time will go the way of Butler, but you can already see on the minimap the rotations for Cajun Esports already good. They've locked down the window and the 2 sight lines trying to contest this next hard point.
Yeah, it's very good. They were really good on this hill last time as they pick up a kill on each side. Bandit with a double kill and Ash with one of his own. And it looks like they have really good control of this one. Specialists are being used like crazy on the last one. So going into this one, we only have Johnny Ice with the Gravity Slam and Zots close to his as well. So this should be interesting to see how they can utilize these specialists in the
Slash had used the Annihilator and wasn't able to find much with it. J-Money's still not even at his first one yet for the Annihilator. Zots still holding on to the Grav Slam, so is Johnny Ice, and meanwhile it's just Maddox is on point, just trading away with one another. Still ends up favoring Cajun Esports, who are getting closer to 200, but they desperately need this point as much time as possible, because this next one coming up, that conference room trophy area, is so difficult to break, especially if you don't have resources available, which they do. They just have the Grav Slam, like we mentioned, so you have to get some time here, and they are able to put themselves in control. And I like this play from Bandit. Even though he is a little over aggressive, he keeps Butler from getting too comfortable on the next hard point, allowing time for the rest of Cajun to move on forward, push on in, and look for a full contest.
Yeah, this is going to be a huge next hill as Zots drops from Slashing with his ICR. It's going to be a huge hill here. We have them down almost about 20 points. So as Butler breaks in, and Butler now has control.
Getting close to 230, but not going away yet are the rest of Cajun Esports, as they're just trying to surround and find some opening picks down in this cafe diner area. And Riga will say no to that as the SOG comes through, and then there's also a grab slam to take down one more, but both those kills get traded. So all of a sudden, Cajun Esports are looking at a very low numbered situation. They need a break on in, 243, and Zots comes in with 2, able to find the swing for Cajun Esports. And with attack 5 being popped, they want to hold on to as much time as possible, which is fortunate considering that Butler is spawning in that robotics area, which will allow them, if they can hold off these kills, they can find all of the rest of the time and rotate into the next point in that middle area. And with 230 on the board to 243, we're coming down to the most 50-50 point ever. It just comes down to who can finally get themselves established in the middle area and lock it down. And so far, it seems like Cajun Esports might just have that in their bandwagon.
Yeah, these are all huge kills here, and what a comeback from Cajun Esports, as it's now tied up. Annihilator comes out from J-Money. What is going to happen as they rise?
247, TAC 5 being used, and nobody can bust in. It's just everyone flooding forward, and no one from Butler can get there in time. My goodness, Bandit, he had that war machine, and I wasn't 100% sure if he was going to get full value out of it, as he was just eventually just spamming it at the doorways, and he would be able to find the success needed to at least keep some pressure in, and that will do it. The Cajun Esports of University of Lafayette of Louisiana, too many L's, ULL, will win the first Arsenal of their careers so far in Season 1 at a very close 250 to 240, I believe, 3 that was.
Yeah, that was huge for Cajun Esports because, as we said going in, they hadn't ever touched Arsenal ever besides in scrims. So to come out with a huge win like that, that's huge for their team, and hopefully they carry that momentum on.
Quite the play is being made all over the place, really. I mean, it was kind of a star-studded performance between Zots and Hensley on one side of things, as you will take a look at it. Zots up top just doing really well, and Hensley and Vortex trying to hold things down for their team. But again, pretty even numbers across the board, with the exception of Zots, who was a good 1,000 damage above the next closest on his team, sitting at 41 and 21 with a full 124 seconds on the clock as far as objective time goes. That's something that you definitely love to see out of a younger player in Zots.
Yeah, it's huge to have the slaying power plus the objective time. That's all you would want in a player, and that's all you would ever ask for a player if you're trying to recruit them. Never doubt Slashin with his anchor ability, and that was really huge. He had a positive KD throughout that game. So yeah, as we get into the search and destroy, hopefully Cajun can kind of roll over that momentum from the first game.
Yeah, and again, it was kind of a late surge. I mean, at one point, we were looking at Butler starting to snowball away, and then it came down to that gun placement hard point that the University of Louisiana Lafayette, I'm going to say that correctly from now on. I swear to you, Flat Top, I'm going to make sure I actually take my time to say this properly. The Raging Cages looked good, and they started to put together a couple of hard points, and they neutralized out a couple more, and they just found themselves in favor throughout that entire second rotation of hard points to start kind of building on that lead, and then would eventually have it kind of taken away slightly, but never fully out of the game. And again, those clutch rotation picks that they saw between the third and fourth hardpoint were absolutely crucial as we saw them able to swing things back. But now they've got a different storyline here. Search and destroy. Butler, as we'll see them, again, they'll still be rocking red on the scoreboard, but their proper usernames are there. They have a 66% win rate when it comes to playing Search and Destroy, so this is definitely one of their strongest map modes.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things that I'm looking out for in this search is exactly where each team is going to be positioned on the map. And that's always been a huge thing. Who are going to be stacking each site? Like, how are they going to divide up the players? As J-Money gets that headshot in on Hensley over at the A-bomb site.
Vortex, this is such a dangerous spot. And, like, he's just had his tippy toes on the edge, and he's using a Maddox, not a SOG. So
no
interesting
cover
for him to position that way. Yeah, no cover whatsoever. Looked like he was just looking for a shot punch or something, but that would not happen, so we're looking at a 3-on-2. Make that a 3-on-1. All of that favoring Cajun Esports. It comes down to Riga. He is a good player, but this is quite the task for anyone of any caliber. Yeah,
definitely. We have a, like you said, 1v3 right here. And he picks up Ash, actually. And if you're Cajun Esports, you would get one guy on the bomb, one guy looking over, but it looks like they're going to have... Oh, close. We had Bandit at the window, and then we have... Zots on the bomb, actually at the heady, and that's really good positioning out of Cajun, as Bandit's looking to get a little aggressive here.
And he's got to be careful. Will he read this play right? Bandit does come back through, but the SOG just too strong in those close quarters battles. Riga gave himself a chance and read the play correctly, but not able to quite find the heroics that were needed. So the first round will go to the University of Louisiana Lafayette.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, he was ready for that play, but it was just a bit too late. If he was maybe a second earlier, he probably could have had that. But yeah, first round goes to Cajun.
Things looking pretty solid so far. Again, interesting calls from some players positionally for Butler.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
Taking full advantage of Cajun.
I can't say I've seen that one before.
Yeah, me neither. Not with the Maddox, at least.
Yeah. And here we have
out of the gate offensively.
Butler
You got Butler running 5 players to B.
We
the
see
first
that
kill's going the way of Lego. He just dives right underneath, and my goodness, he found himself a third too. Could he find himself a fourth? Lego! Goodness gracious, what is that? With the SOG at every range, could not quite find the ace. You can tell his teammates wanted him to go for it, though, as they just gave him the go call to run forward. Fortunately for Vortex, he's able to clean it up before the embarrassment was fully realized, but regardless, the number's too steep, then Cajun Esports will put themselves up 2 rounds to none on the back end of some great play from Lego Maego.
Yeah, Vortex was the lone wolf in that situation and actually didn't follow the team to B, so he was he actually picked up a kill mid-map and was hoping to pick up more, but it was just the numbers were not in his favor, and the second round also goes to Cajun. With, I mean,
you got to feel pretty confident about that.
That 4-piece.
Yeah, absolutely. And that will put him up to 4-2 overall. Not finding any kills in the first round, but that was Bandit that had a star-studded first round, and now Lego taking over, and now it comes down to ULL on offense, and a little bit of a split approach here. A couple players heading over the middle, and looks like the Bomb and 2 others in support will be heading towards this outer ledge towards A.
Yeah, this is really good positioning out of Butler, as they have one guy just sort of roaming at B, and then we have the majority of players here at A, one at window, and then one in their lobby, and yeah, we have some gunfights going down now out of spots.
A little bit of poking and prodding, trying to find some kind of an opportunity, but no eliminations yet. Riga up top on this platform is in a really strong position to hold this, but as I say that, he gets absolutely beamed by Zots. Meanwhile, over the middle portion of the map, it was actually Slash and Knives fighting himself an elimination, and actually a second with that, so a 4-on-3 will favor our defenders, of Butler Esports.
Yeah, so now it is a 2v, or actually 4v2, and they will be looking to maybe get the bomb down soon. Actually, we have some huge kills. Bandit with a 2-piece. Wow, okay.
Able to even things back up 2-2. 20 seconds on the clock ticking down below that. Bomb looking to be planted. Johnny Ice has got the angle, but Bandit comes from his right-hand side. The bomb is not down, and with that, it's a lot of extra time for Slash to play with. He's sitting on a 3 streak. I don't know if you want to throw away any potential streaks at this point, so you're just probably going to run away and let the time click away. Clutch timing there, though. Bandit almost made the heroics to make this in favor of Cajun, but fortunate timing peeking the bomb for Butler allow them to play the clock and to get them their first round. 2-1 we go.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Slashing does. He just backs up and waits for Bandit to make the move if he does. And here in the best play, we have Bandit picking up that sequence of kills that he did. And when he finally peeked Slasher over there or Slash in over at the bomb, that was just not a gunfight that you want to challenge with the SOG, so he knew to back off. But at the same time, it's like you only have 9 seconds to work with, so that third round does go to Butler.
Again, the private school located just in the northern part of Indianapolis, taking on the more public school of the University of Louisiana Lafayette. I've actually been to that university once, performed at the Raging Cajun Stadium. It was not pleasant. It was hot in the middle of July, which is probably the last place you want to be is in the middle of Louisiana. But as we get back into the game, Butler able to find the first 2 kills, and they're full swording over to A, and they find the first 3 kills, so a 5-on-2, and now Bandit and Ash, who actually does get taken down. Bandit now just considering, what do you do from here? I think that giant open area right in front of you will serve a purpose, unless you want to just try to hold on to some streaks. He is 6-1 and 525 off of streaks, but again, this is, even if he does get 1 kill, you have to figure Butler's going to swarm on him, so you got to make up your mind here as far as what you want to do.
Yeah, and on the side of Cajun, what can you really do when you have 5 people coming at you over a ring? So yeah, they couldn't really respond to it. Bandit does pick up 1 though on Vortex, close to his War Machine, and has his clusters, so whether or not he decides to utilize those will be interesting. Makes it a 1v4. Oh,
a very disciplined read, and Bandit finds another up close and personal. Not going to find the third. Good punish from Slashing, but it did come at a cost. Like you mentioned, that War Machine will be ready very quickly as we go into round 5. I believe that's the first specialist that will be available for either team, and we'll still take a look from Johnny Ice and his Maddox from the perspective of this full sweep that we saw on the A side of the map.
Yeah, and Johnny picks up the Maddox kill here as we moved into round 5. And yeah, we will see Cajun with the bomb, and let's see where they take it. We have a B push here, very similar to Butler's a few rounds ago.
I wouldn't be opposed, honestly, to see Bandit pulling out this War Machine. It just comes down to, and the kill cam said they see how close to charge he was, and did they pull out the flak jackets? Again, a very early investment to switch classes. In round 5, you do not anticipate that War Machine being ready by any stretch of the imagination, but when you're 9-2, that leaves a lot of opportunity for ULL, but Hensley will trade things over the middle, leaving things on a 3-on-3 now, actually, as more kills fade away after the bomb has been planted here at B.
Yeah, definitely if that War Machine was going to be put into play was going to be interesting. I don't know how the B-bomb site would have favored that call, but as we see here, Butler just getting in the face of certain Cajun players as Slashing picks up another kill on Lego Maego, and we have a 1v1 here, J Money versus Slashing, and it's over. J Money picks up
challenge
the kill.
from Slashing, but not able to quite handle it. The ICR in that range, not usually as effective as you'd like. Here is that play from J Money as we're looking at a 3-2 score favoring Cajun Esports. Nice little shot punch there. And then again, the second challenge that comes around the corner. Pre-fired, easy peasy, no problem. No shots from Slash and even registering.
Yeah, the ICR is definitely not the most mobile gun, so challenging that, even if you knew he was there, just not the best idea. So
going in around 6, still have the War Machine for Bandit. Nothing else really close. Although I say that Slash and Knives does have his Annihilator, and he's also got himself a Lightning Strike. So potential to play with some tools and potentially toys, depending on how you look at it, as the ICR will try to lock down the window, but does not expect J Money to push aggressively. He finds himself 2. That was a very aggressive setup defensively for Cajun Esports as they came flooding down the left-hand side of the map, perspectively from Butler's side of things, and everything just falling apart and being dismantled. A 4-on-1, round 6 essentially already over in a blink of an eye.
Yeah, speaking of specialists, J Money picks up his Annihilator with those kills, and now that makes 2 specialists on the board for Cajun. So depending on how they utilize these, it'll make them go to an even bigger lead here as we watch them in a 4v1. Just hopefully we can see what Riga does here. Picks up a nice kill mid-map on Ash. Wow.
Very nicely found, but second peeks on Zots, who had the first shots, and that will favor Zots more often than not.
Yeah.
4-2 goes the score, and now things start to get a little bit desperate for Butler as, again, Cajun have built up a lot of their specialists. And you have to think that if you're looking at this from the perspective of Butler University, you really need Slash and Knives to have a couple of good rounds, not just off the Annihilator, but potentially with the Lightning Strike as well.
Yeah, and especially from Butler's perspective, it's like you mentioned Slashing with his ICR, and he even has his own Annihilator. So I think this might be the round that we see some specialists get invested, just because of these long-range gunfights. Yeah, we do have TAC 5 invested.
No TAC 5 available for Cajun Esports, so this is definitely good value, although the Annihilator does get popped out for J Money for a shot just a little bit over the shoulder. Looking for the second. Nice patience. Now how about a third? No one's going to peek. The defense just absolutely rotating around and back. And J Money actually is the one with the bomb, so if they realize this, they can get a little bit in his face and force him to hit a nutty shot, but Slash and Knives looks to contest with Annihilator of his own. He's just to the left of J Money, and neither player knows that each other are there. So now it just comes down to who's going to actually peek this first. It's going to come in. Oh my goodness. J Money finds one, but Slash and takes him down. The second and third shot just a bit wide. Again, time ticking away. We're looking at a 2-on-3. The Annihilator still being utilized, and the time favoring that of the team that planted. Oh, that one's nicely found from Slash, and looking for another. Almost actually connects onto his teammate, but it's a 2-on-1. Someone needs to sit on the bomb, and Slash and Knives will get there. Lego with the concussion will find at least information on one, and he's actually going to pick up the player defusing.
Oh, wow.
What are you doing, Hensley? There's no time left. You have to be able to just stand on top of your opponent and make sure he doesn't find those free shots, and it's going to be around going the way of Cajun Esports. You hate to see that.
Yeah, that was an absolute free kill on the bomb. Just exposed to really any line of sight besides ring. You know, he literally just came down from balcony and had no trouble whatsoever killing that guy on bomb.
Now we get into very desperate times calling for desperate measures from Butler. Someone's going to have to step up and be a big hero at this point, as you're looking at not only map point, but you used a lot of resources there for Butler with the Annihilator coming out, and yikes. Now we take a look at what's available. No TAC 5 again. War Machine not there. Slash and does have a Lightning Strike, and they're on offense, so you can utilize this properly to, you know, use the first ping to try to shrug the defense off of the outer edges, get yourself some map positioning, and then you could potentially call it down again while the bomb is looking to get planted. But Slashing's going to contest up the middle first. He does take down the TAC 5 boating Lego My Ego from the window, but not able to find the full kill. Still, he will get the information the TAC 5 is in play for the Cajun Esports squad.
Yeah, what's interesting to me is that if Hensley gets one kill, I believe he'll have his War Machine. So going up against Bandit's War Machine of his own, this will be really interesting here.
But Hensley does fall, so now it comes down to who else can step up. Slashing, again, a very aggressive angle. Not going to find the ambitious peak there as Bandit able to punish from the middle, so now a 4-on-3. And you have to think things are not looking so great. The SOG for Bandit good onto 1. He will jump right out and rotate back around. Doesn't want to put himself in a tradeaway situation. So Vortex will find himself a kill. The pro and the clutch master from the hard point, when it came down to a number of hard points, will have to make things happen here. A 2-on-1 as Riga's able in the back end to find one. Bandit's actually going to commit the War Machine for this, and does he know the bomb is down? Because Vortex has to come back to this, and Bandit doesn't seem to as he rotates all the way back through. Just under 18 seconds left for a play to happen.
Yeah, as Vortex comes around for that bomb. The War Machine is still here, but I don't think he'll ever get the opportunity. Yeah, he doesn't have the opportunity. Actually, yeah, no time to plant the bomb at all. So this will be around for Cajun. Simple as that.
Yep, absolutely. That's not just the round, but also the map. Wow. A very anticlimactic finish, but I think that that situation right there kind of goes to show some of the struggles that Butler was facing throughout the entirety of the map. Just small things not going their way, not covering the plant, or rather not covering the defuse, not having the bomb in play. And that's 2 rounds essentially that were won for Cajun Esports simply based off the time clock itself, not what you want to see out of the search and destroy from Butler.
And another thing that is so crucial to the gameplay sometimes is investing those specialists and not being able to finish the round off. I believe in that round where Slashing called in his Annihilator, he got at least 2 kills with that, 1 in ring and then 1 on the balcony, and they still weren't able to finish that off because of that untimely positioning.
Again, we weren't really sure what 100% to expect from either of these teams. Butler only having really played up against one formidable opponent in the University of Tennessee at Knoxville. ULL only really having played once, as Finger Lakes Community College was a forfeit for them. So it just, for me, it just comes down to this was a good test for ULL, and all of the hype that's been sitting around them when it comes to power rankings seemed to be well warranted, as they're up 2-0 pretty convincingly, at least on the search and destroy. Not as convincing in the hard point, but that 6-2 scoreline, based on how those rounds went, you have to feel pretty good about the Raging Cajuns moving into map 3.
Yeah, and it's so unfortunate, like you said, about those certain rounds, just running out of time so that you can't have anything happen as far as kills go or bomb plants. So the scoreboard really didn't reflect how the gameplay went, because a lot of people on Butler actually had really good scores, and it just comes down to positioning and when to get those bombs planted and exactly where you have to be.
Yeah, and here's the kind of flip around. We'll turn this back into Butler's perspective. 100% win rate on control so far. Even in the set that they lost, that 5-game set that they played up against the University of Tennessee, they did still win the control. We will be sticking with frequency, which is a very interesting control map simply because of how pivotal that central area of the map is. But if you're looking at a reverse sweep potential for Butler, this is 100% where you have to set up your own pacing and your own tone. You can't just win this map. You have to dominate this map, I feel, if you're looking at the Butler Bulldogs.
Yeah, and right here, as we see, both teams are basically just rushing each other face to face, trying to get in each other's face and hopefully take control of this A site. And as we see here, they already get a tick on it.
Looking to get a second one as well. Flash and Knives will rotate away. This is actually the scoreboard again, right? The name's incorrect as far as, or the color is rather incorrect. So it is the Raging Cajuns on offense first, and they get themselves a very quick control A. And as you look to rotate back over to B, Butler not even quite fully set up. The cluster nade might make it a little bit more difficult from Bandit, but think he actually threw it over the edge on accident. He does have a Spitfire, very interestingly enough. I can't imagine him holding on to it as we continue this pressure on B.
Yeah, I agree. Even though B was a very, actually even though A was a very close quarters site, I'm surprised that he still has it out as he does here. Still trying to make something work with it as we see both teams try to take control of this. Cajun actually up by about 7 kills here. Actually make that 8 and 9 with J Money's
Goodness, J Money. And this is, again, not really even a full spawn trap by any stretch of the imagination. They're just holding down these pipes areas, and Butler just keeps funneling through as J Money finds himself 2 more. And at a certain point, you think this is getting really costly as J Money finds himself a 3rd and shoots the body, because why the heck not? He's sitting on a 5 streak at the moment, and no one is able to shrug him off of this pipeline heady. And with that just comes free progress behind him at B. The Raging Cajuns, they've got themselves their first round in control just as convincingly as we were hoping we would see out of Butler. Yikesers.
What an interesting first round, as I might say. Yeah, that one was interesting. Huge first cap on the A site, and then just total control over at the B site. I mean, what more can you want out of Cajun?
Not much more if you're looking at the perspective of this from J Money. I mean, goodness gracious,
Exactly.
just no one able to shrug him off this challenge. And at a certain point,
Barely
you think,
even
all
getting
right, let's
touched.
just go somewhere else.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, at that point, you're learning your lesson not to challenge him on those headies.
Now we go into round 2, and things have to start feeling like they're dismantling in front of you pretty quickly for Butler. Need to have a good offense here, as they really didn't put up much pressure whatsoever defensively. Concussion will be good to stun out a couple of defenders who are here, and the trades on the back end of the, will actually favor the side of Butler. I have hesitated for a second simply because that rotation from middle looked a little dangerous, but it will favor the offense. And a little bit of double capture going on. Vortex putting himself on B. He's actually halfway to a first tick of progress here, and someone's going to have to come around and challenge, at least you would think. Lego Maego's over the top middle, but you got to pick a side here if you're Cajun. It looks like Zots, the rest of the crew, will at least commit to defending A.
Yeah, now we did have a 2-on-1 over at B, and then Flashing goes down. So now we have a bit of a split here. We don't know. Butler has to choose which side to go for, and it'll be interesting to see which one they decide to attack. 1 tick already invested over at the B site and also on the A site. So yeah, I believe very early in this match, that stun over at Ring was very crucial to Butler possibly coming back in this match. So,
and I don't really know how I feel about how they were approaching this. Vortex was playing his life for way too long at B, and there was no pressure whatsoever happening at A. Now, as I say, though, the respawn comes through and they're looking to put all of their resources into A, but the kills over the middle just favoring the side of ULL so often. It is still in contest, and Hensley has no idea where his opponent is. All of this is valuable time defensively for ULL. A shot punch does come in, but the rotation and respawns are there, and now Vortex, who wanted to find some pressure at B, is actually trying to push through, and this is just all over the place for Butler. Looks like they will capture point B, although I say that, and Bandit is able to find 1, looking for a second. Will he commit his life to the point? He will not. He will just find a trade over the middle. The kill still favoring that of our team, currently represented in blue, of ULL, but it is, again, the first point at B captured for Butler.
I questioned Bandit's choice of gun in the first round, and he seems to be going off with it in the second. That Spitfire is proving to be a force for him in mid-range gunfights and close-range gunfights. It's actually insane. I haven't seen it in a while.
You know, I've been saying, Flat Top, that if the SOG ever gets touched, it will be the Spitfire coming into the meta, especially with all these close quarters battles that do happen here on the outer ring by capture point A. Hensley is just, again, poking and prodding. Plenty of time to play with, and as you look at the lives, this starts to look more and more like a search and destroy round, as it is
exactly.
9-7. You just need to find a couple of these tradeaways over the middle, and all of a sudden, Butler's got themselves an opportunity to find double capture.
Yeah, this is when you'll see both teams start playing a little more cautiously, because we're not working with 30 lives here. Huge kills coming out of Cajun, though. 6-on-4 situation, make that a 5-on-4 back and forth situation here.
You have to be really careful at Butler. You cannot overextend. Really nice play here from Slash, and he puts himself just inside the opponent's window. A shot punch comes through too. 4-on-3, and he is penetrated all the way through. If you can find this kill, it'd be huge, but it's not going to be able to do it. But the capture is happening at A here, Flat Top. It's going to be Zox coming in, and he will be shot punched down, but Bandit is there to help trade away. It was a 2-on-1 situation, and it favors going the way of ULL. Now up 2-0. and the hopes and dreams of Butler going to be dashed away at potentially one more round of control.
That was an insane last few seconds of that. I thought Butler might have that with that shot punch, but Bandit comes in for that double kill. Just as easy as that.
This was quite a heroic play from Slash and Knives. Again, you could see how aggressive he's being. This was right near the end as the lives were right around that 9-7 mark. He did even things up, but his teammates couldn't follow through on points, unfortunately for him. You can see he's 7-9, not even quite having a great round. But what about Riga? My goodness, you hate to bring it up, but you have to. 2-12. It's got to feel like a 4v5 at certain moments here for Butler.
Definitely. Those shot punches are just so satisfying. I can see why that looked like such a huge play. Oh, huge gravity spike out of Zots over at this
That'll help open things up. Looking for a third as well. He's got one teammate with him, but over the middle comes Vortex to rotate. He finds himself another double kill. Fortunately, J Money is there to finally take down that juggernaut, which has been Vortex, and capture percentage will continue to count up at point A, including with now the stack on top of it. A very quick first and looking for a very quick second, and the kills are also favoring that of ULL. That's a free capture point A if I ever saw one, and they're up 4 lives.
That is insane, and at this point, you have to invest your specialist if you're Butler. You have Hensley with the War Machine, and really nobody else that close besides Slash, and a few kills for him will get him his Annihilator. Has some huge kills. Actually, it's a team kill coming out of Slash, but J Money invests the Annihilator trying to finish them off here.
Why not? He's finding himself a second, just narrowly missing the third. Now he's going to hold the long angle, and yeah, that's an easy shot. He will be concussed slightly, but still has one more shot. Will be taken down from above, but again, the progress at B is here all the way through 2 ticks. Looking for just that last one. Bandit with this Spitfire is going to be so dangerous in this underneath pipes, and now J Money with the streaks as well. The Tempest coming out, the drone squad, everything. Why not just finish it here for ULL? And it looks like that very well be the case. As soon as they can start committing their bodies to the point, they just need to win out one more kill on the Riga, and it'll be free capture. And you can actually see they're just playing for the lives lead as well, as you also have a sniper's nest above. And goodness gracious, this is just absolute slaughter coming down on capture point B, thanks to all these score streaks.
Yeah, this is absolutely insane. They're taking control for the entire game. Like, huge live advantage. They had their score streaks that game. Strike team, sniper's nest, everything. So, yeah, even with the small glimpses of hope that Butler had, Cajun still found a way to clutch up and really dominate in this game.
And we'll take a look at this one-hand cannon coming out of J Money one more time. I actually thought he hit his teammate for a small second on that second shot, but regardless, he's able to find 4, I believe, with the Annihilator. You'll take that every day of the week, including Sundays. And that will finish off our first set of the night here, Flat Top. A very convincing performance. ULL wins this one out against the Butler Bulldogs at a 3-0 scoreline, going to show that public schools versus private schools, doesn't matter how much you pay, sometimes you just can't quite meet up to the task that the public school force can bring to you. I don't know where I'm going with this. Let's just ride with it and make it make sense, all right?
I'm just going along with it.
Thank you. I appreciate you doing that. But again, I mean, as you take a look, we had not seen ULL be proven, at least tested, I guess, as of yet. This, I would say, is a pretty definitive representation of where they stand in that Northeast Division.
Yeah, that was huge for them. And even in that last control, we had the top 3 players, Bandit, Zots, and J Money, just going off with 27, 24, and 27 kills apiece. And things were pretty even on the Butler side. Riga having not so great of a game. Maybe that was their downfall. But what can you do if you're Butler?
Yeah. Not much, honestly. Based on what was happening in the score stats, yeah, I don't think there's much that they could really have done. They were just getting out-fragged across the board.
Yeah, that and some of the equipment being used, that's just a huge thing that you can take advantage of, especially now with the new rule set.
Yeah,
a lot of things are going to come into play now. Stuns are going to be huge. Obviously, GAs were a thing too, but now that we have those things solidified in the rule set, it's going to be a major thing to take advantage of in these games.
And as you look at it, as far as what this means standings-wise for both of these teams, how about this for ULL? They move up to 3-0, which will put them in essentially a tie between them, Toronto University, and Liberty University Navy. But what that actually means is that they'll probably actually be in second at the end of the night, simply because Toronto and Liberty Navy will be playing up against each other in our next set. So definitely a good way to start off the season for the Raging Cajuns of Louisiana Lafayette. Meanwhile, in the Midwest Division, Butler will fall down below the top three, likely, as they will be sitting at a 2-2 win-loss ratio, putting them essentially even with where Ole Miss Red is. They're sitting at 2-1 for the meantime. Cincinnati and Ohio State University in the 2-1 spots, respectively, at 3-1 and 4-0. So Butler, again, this is a long season. If you're just joining us, not familiar with the Collegiate CoD League, it is 2 games a week, starting back a couple weeks ago in January and going all the way through April. So a long season ahead for these squads, and a lot of room, I'd say, to grow for both teams. But as we look at it from the Louisiana Lafayette perspective, things have to be feeling pretty good here in the first stage of this series.
Yeah, definitely. That was a huge 3-0 for them to start their night, and really, they didn't have many mistakes. They didn't really have many things to look down upon.
And indeed it is. But again, as we phrased up, Toronto, Liberty Navy, both at 3-0 in the Northeastern Division. That is the matchup that we have coming up next, just on the backside of this break. While we're away, make sure you hit up our Twitter and our Discord at College COD. All of the links are also below in the stream. And of course, if you enjoyed myself and Flat Top, you could also throw out just one more quick little follow, because why not? All that range of integration is just good to have. But we'll be switching things up. We'll be back with our second match of the night. Toronto taking on Liberty Navy just after this.